All right. Well, welcome back to Focus on You with Phil and Oscar. My name is Philip Reed, and I'm the president and CEO of Phoenix National Network. Oscar isn't here today. He had some other things he had to do. So we do have a great guest for you today. He's a producer and director, Bill Brady. And I'm always excited to talk to him because when we talk, we have also the same similar perspectives on the world and on life, uh, as all creative people do. So I think we see things on the other side of the coin. But today we're just going to go. I'm going to introduce you to a show that we'll be having on the Phoenix National Network, which you can find us on any platform. Just type in the name Phoenix National Network, and you'll see us pop up. We're on Spotify. We are on iHeartRadio. So if you're on any of those platforms, you'll be able to hear the program later. It is called Grow in Grace. It's going to be on the Bishop's Corner. That's going to be our subject line, and it's just going to be seriously talking about giving each other room to get better. All of us need to get better at something. So I'm going to play that video real quick for you, and then we'll be back here to introduce our guest again. So here we go.
This week on the Bishop's Corner, learn how to find the grace to grow. This series is going to change your life forever because it's going to show you the power of forgiveness and the spiritual growth that takes place when it happens. Tune in Thursday at 8 p.m. See you there.
All right. So that's going to be later today, Thursday at 8 p.m. on the Phoenix National Network. You can catch us on Facebook on the Bishop's Corner Theater. Hope to see you there. Or you can join us on the Zoom line. The link will be in the description. All right. So now I'm going to introduce our guest for today, producer and director, Bill Brady. Hey, Bill.
Hello, how are you?
Good, man. Good. It's been a while since I've seen you. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Life's good. My wife is doing really well with her career. My daughter's a junior in college studying architecture, and I'm busy. So, no complaints.
Architecture. So that means we're going to see something in the near future, huh?
I think she's like studying environmental architecture, so like kind of had a green buildings and stuff. I don't know if she's going to build any buildings, but she's definitely on the right track.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Listen, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do, what you've done. Get them familiar with you.
Sure. So my name is Bill Brady. I'm primarily a photographer and a filmmaker. Uh, been shooting food photography for about 20 some odd years. Um, I like to tell people, you don't probably don't know me, but chances are you've seen my work. I do a lot of package work. I've worked for Walmart and Boar's Head and big brands and small brands. I started out my career in corporate America, and I couldn't stand it, so I quit. And I took a little detour into the film business doing commercials, and I basically discovered food commercials, which I worked for a tabletop director. Um, kind of did that for a couple of years, realized, my love for photography was really, where I wanted to be. And I left that and started working, towards my career. And eventually I had a studio on 35th Street. Now I have a studio in Industry City, Brooklyn. Um, and basically, I've been doing that, and I do shoot a lot of corporate stuff. But about 6 or 7 years ago, uh, I started doing, film again. I started working, in video production. And my partner and I wrote a script called Seven Fishes, which we tried to get produced for many years. We came very close a little while ago, and then it kind of, we we lost the funding for that, which is very common in the business. We wrote and produced another movie called The Networker, which had a nice run in the festivals, and then Amazon and a couple of other streaming services picked it up. And then I did a documentary called Amazing Grace in 2018 with Pastor Gene Price, about six women who survived childhood sexual abuse, which is a topic I'm, kind of associated with. My wife is actually in the movie; she's a survivor. And then for the last couple of years, during the pandemic, I'm shooting. I'm working on a couple projects. I'm possibly doing a new documentary, and just keeping busy, really.
Oh, that's exciting. That's exciting, man. Most people only kind of like imagine themselves doing something like what you're doing, but how did you get started? That's the primary question. You found your passion. You said, "Man, I want to start filming." What was your like first step into the industry? And tell us that story.
So, you know, I worked in out of college. It was a bad recession. It was the late '80s, and I got a corporate job, and I really didn't like it. I was in marketing, and I didn't fit into the corporate business model. So believe it or not, I was really unhappy, and I happened to just come across that Tony Robbins book, Awaken the Giant Within,
I love it.
and
Love
I
it.
read it like cover to cover in 3 days. I went out and bought the tapes, and within 3 months, I quit my job. I had no safety net, nothing. I was living in Hoboken. My rent was pretty cheap, but I couldn't stand working for other people. And I went out on my own. I started taking headshots and doing stuff for actors. And just as a coincidence, a guy in my building was working for a tabletop director named Alex Fernbach, and he had a company, and he did like craft commercials and all these other food commercials and a lot of the Wendy's stuff. And it kind of introduced me to the like, oh, this is something like food, because I really wasn't sure like what kind of photography that I liked and what I wanted to do. But I just knew I wanted to be a photographer, a professional photographer.
Hmm.
And I worked on these commercials, and it was really exciting and I worked for about 3 years as a production assistant, and I also did like location scouting and all that. So I really kind of had a pretty decent knowledge of the business and how it worked. And I stepped away from that in the early '90s. Learned photo retouching, which was a very in demand thing at the time, like a lot of pre press. We were kind of switching from film to digital.
Hmm.
And so I was scanning, I was working with this food photographer named Bill Helms, and
Hmm.
we worked together for a number of years. And when he retired, the agency and the client asked me if I wanted to take his account over. And I did, which was they were the food emporiums in New York. And honestly, I just kind of like faked it till I made it. I mean, I always knew how to take pictures, and I was a photographer. I had gone to photography school. I just wasn't sure where to bring it. And back then, like the internet was just starting, so there was really no way to figure it out. Um,
We were on dial up back then.
Yeah, we were on dial-up, right, exactly, and there wasn't a lot of information out there.
Right.
So I just honestly, how I made my path was through relationships. Um, I met somebody who, kind of believed in my potential, this guy Bill Helms, and we became like a good team. He was an old school food photographer. He actually was one of his teachers was Ansel Adams back in California. So that kind of gives you, and he was a Navy photographer. He was on the Yorktown during World War II. So he was an older guy, and I was in my like late 20s.
Okay.
And so he kind of mentored me into the, food photography thing. And then, when he retired, um, I kind of helped him transition into digital artwork because, he gets very passionate, but he just didn't want to shoot commercially anymore. So I just, kind of made it through that and learned food photography. Kind of, it was a shotgun, just I had 40 days of photography that the Food Emporium hired me for, and I hired a couple food stylists and just started shooting. And back then, digital photography was like brand new,
Right.
so I could shoot like 15 shots in a day. 8 of them sucked, 7 of them were really good, and I turned them into the client. And they were like, "Wow, we never got this many pictures in a day," because back then food photographers did like 2 shots in a day.
Right. Right.
So I just very quickly learned, because because we were shooting digitally, it didn't cost anything to shoot
Mhm.
other than the expenses. So I kind of, figured that out and got pretty decent at it. And then I started collaborating with a food stylist named Brian Preston Campbell, who was fantastic. He worked for Bobby Flay. He was his like second in command, and he quit the restaurant business to be a food stylist. And we kind of forged a really good relationship and worked together for many years, and kind of helped each other. Like he was new, I was new, but we both were kind of heading in the same direction. Um, and then like every other thing, the Great Recession hit. And I was already 10 years into my food photography career, and my start. I was doing corporate portraits at that point too. Um, Somebody introduced me to a company called Eisner Amper, and I
Mhm.
never forget. So I went in and I met with them, and I had been, I had a people portfolio, so I showed.
Okay, maybe got frozen for a minute there. We're going to take a quick break and until he gets back in. All right, here we go.
This week on the Bishop's Corner, learn how to find the grace to grow. This series is going to change your life forever because it's going to show you the power of forgiveness and the spiritual growth that takes place when it happens. Tune in Thursday at 8 p.m. See you there. This week on the Bishop's Corner, learn how to find the grace to grow. This series is going to change your life forever because it's going to show you the power of forgiveness and the spiritual growth that takes place when it happens. Tune in Thursday at 8 p.m. See you there.
Are you there?
All right, we are back with Bill Brady, producer director. Um, okay, so we got cut off in their story there for a
Oh,
second.
sorry. Yeah, my internet's kind of funky today, so if I lose you, I'm sorry.
No,
Um,
that's okay. That's okay. Go ahead and continue.
yeah, so I had been doing corporate portraits, and the guy was like, you should really do your homework. And then, to much of my surprise, he hired me because he liked me, and I've been working with that company for 18 years.
Wow.
Refer me to other companies. So I don't really advertise my corporate portrait business, but I came up with a way to really figure out how to shoot people who hate having their picture taken.
Mhm.
And the companies that hire me really like that because it's a miserable experience for a lot of people. I figured out a way to make it not miserable. But in 2016 or 2015, I was working for the Fulton Fish.
Yes. You're working for the Fuller Fisher Company. Dun, dun, dun. We're having some technical difficulties as far as with the internet, but I would love for us to keep continuing this. So we're going to take a little session for you to hear again what's going to be happening tonight at 8 p.m. On the Phoenix National Network. All right, here we go again. Oh, there he is. There you're back. Awesome, awesome,
Oh,
awesome.
I apologize, man. Like Time Warner Spectrum is terrible today. Um,
Yeah. So go ahead.
so
Yes.
Yeah, so I basically started shooting video in 2015. Learned how to do it on my own.
Mhm.
Just kind of watch some YouTube stuff, learn how to edit, and then I, to my surprise, I was actually a pretty good editor. And these days I do video, I do photography. It's a little bit different of a business. Everything used to be so niche,
Mhm.
but now, like, if my corporate business gets a little slow, my the food business picks up. And then if both of those are a little slow, the video business picks up. So, like, there's always a bunch of different buckets. But the advice I can give people is, if you really want to do something, don't let disappointment and economic turndowns and you know you just have to have patience and be passionate about following through and not be discouraged. And if you have to take a job, driving an Uber for a month, while if your business takes a downturn, whatever it takes. I mean, it's not easy to be in business for yourself. And you can only predict and do the things that you can do well, but you can't change the fact that your contact left the company, and
Mhm.
now there's a new person coming in, and they have a new contact and they want to hire a different photographer. You can't
Right.
take that personally. You just have to move forward and find something else, replace the income when it gets lost. If the economy tanks, figure out a way to create your content that supports why there's always a way to get yourself out.
Right. Absolutely, man. You know what? I'm going to. This is some great stuff. I love what you're sharing because I know there are a lot of people that would love to get into the film industry, or being. I mean, is they're thinking, well, I have to be able to make the Avengers movie in order to get there. And I think you're a prime example that that's not the case. You can have a full on career doing what you love to do. I remember when we did a special on your documentary on sexual abuse, women primarily, and it was very powerful, man. We had a lot of viewership around it, and again, I appreciate you allowing us to put that on our platform. It was a phenomenal experience. Um, First of all, tell us how you got to telling that story again, because I think I think the viewers would love to hear and be reminded of that.
Sure. So I've been working with Pastor Derek Price and Pastor Gene Price on some projects for they have other businesses. And I got a phone call from Gene's assistant, and she asked me if was interested in shooting a documentary about childhood sexual abuse.
Hmm.
And I said, well, coincidentally, my wife is a survivor, so it's kind of a close to my heart, the subject. And I've seen the impact of that on her, and how she's miraculously like gone through and come through the other end. And it's a rough way to begin your life. It really is.
True.
And so we just kind of like we shot it in a couple of days. It didn't take that long. And you know we went to the church, and we had these wonderful ladies that Jean actually found, sans my wife, who I brought in, uh,
Hmm.
and basically, I sat them down and I asked them just to tell me your story, and each one of them had a really compelling story. And you know they were each about a half an hour, 20, about a half an hour
Yes.
with
Definitely.
footage. And then Jean, like, she's the thread. And so we started out in front of her house that she got abused in Long Island. Then we shot her in a park, and then everybody else we shot in the church.
Hmm.
And when I was editing the movie, I was trying to find like the thread on how to like tell the stories so that they were compelling. And it became apparent to me that each story had the same arc,
Hmm.
beginning, middle, and end. So what I decided to do was group each story from each one of those time periods. So start, what happened, you know what the ramifications of that were, how did they survive it, and how they're doing now. So, and it's only about an hour. I think it's an hour and 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Just about.
Uh, a cathartic mass in the church.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Am I dead again? Shit.
No, no, you're good. You're good.
Oh,
I, yeah, yeah. The theme of it is really there's a common thread among the women that was one of the things that we got from it was that uh, the age graph like was, most of it starts what around what the age of 3
like
and
four, between 4
4.
and 6.
Yeah, and it's amazing how it forms their adult life, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be able to you have to be strong on the inside to be able to manage that emotion. What are some of the things that you'd say you pulled from creating the video, the documentary?
Well, first of all, it's amazing that these women even like survived this. You
Mhm.
know, uh, it's just, I mean, the stories are are just so brutal,
Mhm.
and the first half of the movie is really depressing
It is.
because it just highlights just how messed up things are, and how, like, and this is, most of these women are in their, in their 50s and 60s now. So back then nobody was even talking about any of this stuff, you
Hmm.
know and it's still going on every, minute of the day. It's just, it's the statistics are mind-boggling about, all the kids that get abused. And it's not just women, it's boys too. We focused on women because that was the skew of it. But this stuff that it hides in secrecy, and there's so much shame attached to it. And if people would just notice what's going on and
Hmm.
look for the signs, they're pretty obvious. You have a really smart, bright kid, and then one day they're just blank. You know,
Right.
they're devoid of they're sheltering themselves. They're withdrawing. They're doing well in school, and then they're not doing well in school, and nobody can figure out why. Um, and then there's also this the brutality that goes along with, if you tell anyone, I'll kill you, or I'll kill your mother.
Right.
And when you say that to a little kid, you know they believe it. I mean, they totally, like, it's plausible because of what's happening. So the kids aren't so apt to, like, tell people what's going on, because they're afraid of what's going to happen to the people they love. Or I'll
Hmm.
kill your sister. I mean, that the one guy was, they caught him going to the house with a gun to shoot the mother and the girl, because he narked, she it all came out, and the police arrested him, and I mean, he spent some considerable time in jail, I think, for that.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to just for the folks who didn't get a chance to see it, I'm going to play the trailer that you had
Okay,
sent us, okay? So they
sure,
can get a clip of that. Here we go.
sure.
Man, incredible. Incredible. I just want to say, I know we're running out of time. We only got a few more minutes left, but I just want to say, man, it's amazing that you had that opportunity to put that information out there and to help so many people kind of wrap their minds around the situation. Most of the time, I think people feel alone in that situation and they don't feel like they can share their story. And as horrific as it might be, it happens. This is, as human beings, we were talking about this before the show. As human beings, we like to kind of like keep our eyes closed,
Yeah.
and if we don't see it, then it doesn't exist. But reality is, it's a way of life for so many people, and to tell the story is amazing. Now, before we sign off, I would love for you to share with people how they can reach you, how they can, if they are looking at working on a project, trying to figure out how to, connect with you. How does that work?
So, I'm on all the social media platforms, but you can reach out directly to me at it's bill at billbradyphotography.com. And I'm happy to, take your email. Or you can text me at 917-536-2689, and just put the subject matter, and I'll get back to you. I'm pretty accessible.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome, man. You know, so you'll be able to find the production on our platform as well, the Phoenix National Network, and so you'll be able to reach out to Bill through our platform. We have his information as well. So reach out to us. You can hit us up on our contacts. Go to PNN Station Plus, and we'll connect you with Bill. Bill, thank you again so much for taking the time to come on Focus on You with Bill and Oscar. And we'll hope to see you again soon, okay? Take care, everybody. Bye bye.
Take care.